Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are going to tackle something that is super important for anyone who's looking to become a better leader,
Yeah,
and that's self-awareness.
definitely.
And we're going to do a deep dive using this great article called Know Thyself, Unlocking Leadership Potential Through Self-Awareness and Intentional Development.
I like it.
Catchy title.
It is.
But we're not going to just summarize the article. We are going to pull out the most actionable things that you can start doing, like today, to improve your leadership.
Let's do it.
All right, so this whole idea of know thyself, which,
Mhm.
is like an ancient Greek thing,
Right.
it's still so relevant today. And this article was written by executive coach Miguel Nogueral,
Oh, cool.
and he really hits on how important it is to be
Yeah.
self-aware.
It's funny how that ancient Greek idea of know thyself is still so relevant in today's world. Like,
Yeah.
think about the best leaders that you've ever worked with.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had a really strong sense of self.
They did.
It's no coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, self-awareness is the foundation for building trust, making tough decisions, and creating a team culture
Right.
where everyone can thrive.
It makes so much sense. And Miguel, in this article, he even says that executive coaching is like a secret weapon to boost self-awareness.
Interesting.
It's like having a personal guide
Okay.
to help you kind of navigate the messiness of your own mind,
That's a great way to put it. Like, a good coach helps you see those blind spots we all have, those things that we might not even realize are holding us back.
Right.
Maybe you're amazing at, inspiring others,
Mm-hmm.
but you really struggle with giving clear feedback.
Yeah.
A coach can help you turn those weaknesses into strengths.
So it's not just about knowing what you're good at, but it's also understanding what areas that you might need to, let's say, skill up.
Exactly.
Right.
And the article dives into some really interesting tools that can help with this process.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Hogan personality assessments?
I have. They ring a bell, but I'd love to hear more about what they actually reveal about a person.
Well, Hogan assessments are all about understanding how your personality impacts your leadership style.
Okay.
They look at your bright side, your dark side, and even what motivates you at a core level.
So it's not just like, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Yeah.
This is like much deeper than that.
Much deeper.
Okay.
Let's say you tend to get really stressed easily.
Mm-hmm.
The Hogan might show you that you have low adjustment,
Okay.
which is a measure of resilience.
Interesting.
So knowing this
Yeah.
can help you develop coping mechanisms
Right.
to stay calm under pressure,
Yeah.
which is obviously a pretty valuable skill for any leader.
Totally. And that's a great example because it's not just giving you a label.
Right.
It's helping you understand how that tendency might play out in real life situations.
Exactly.
Like the leader.
And that's where you can start making real targeted changes to improve your effectiveness.
That's fascinating. Now I know that there's another tool that kind of brings a different perspective to
Right.
self-awareness,
Right.
and that's the leadership circle profile.
The LCP.
So what makes that stand out?
So while the Hogan gives you a really deep dive into your personality,
Okay.
the LCP takes it a step further
Right.
by incorporating feedback from the people around you.
Interesting.
It's like getting a 350-degree view of your leadership style.
So you're seeing yourself
Yeah.
through the eyes of your team, your peers, your boss.
Exactly.
That's got to be pretty eye-opening.
It can be.
But how does that actually work?
So the LCP focuses on your creative competencies,
Okay.
which are those behaviors that make you an effective leader.
Mm-hmm.
For example, are you great at building trust and encouraging collaboration?
Yeah,
That's the relating competency shining through.
I see.
But it's not all sunshine and roses, though.
Right.
The LCP also uncovers your reactive tendencies,
Oh.
which are those defensive behaviors
Mm.
that we all kind of fall back on when we're stressed or
Right.
feel threatened.
When things get tough.
Think about those moments where you might get controlling or avoid conflict.
Yeah.
The LCP helps you pinpoint those patterns so you can work on them.
We all have those moments.
Boy,
I know that I definitely fall into some of those traps when things get hectic.
it's human nature,
Yeah.
but having that awareness is the first step to making positive changes.
So you've got these great insights, from the Hogan and the LCP, but I imagine that even with all this knowledge, actually changing your behavior
Yeah,
can be a whole other challenge.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's where the immunity to change framework comes into play.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever felt like you really want to change something,
Mm-hmm.
but there's this invisible force holding you back?
Oh, All the time.
Really?
Oh, I feel like you're talking to me right now.
Right.
But seriously, like, what's going on there?
Kegan and Lahey,
Okay.
who are the minds behind this framework, they argue that it's like a tug of war between your conscious goals and your unconscious commitments that are often working against you.
Interesting.
It's this hidden dynamic that can really sabotage your efforts.
So, like, you might say, I want to be more collaborative.
Right.
But then you find yourself, like, micromanaging every little detail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The goal is to empower your team.
Yeah.
But your behavior screams control freak.
Right.
The immunity to change framework helps you dig deeper to uncover what's driving that disconnect.
So how do you actually use that to identify those hidden barriers?
So it starts with identifying the behaviors that are getting in the way of your goal. Then you work backwards to uncover the competing commitment that's driving that behavior.
Yeah.
It's often rooted in a fear.
Oh,
Like if I don't control everything, it will fail and I'll look incompetent.
Oh, so it's those limiting beliefs that we carry around that make us think we have to act that way.
Kegan and Lahey call those the big assumptions.
Okay.
The framework then guides you through a process of testing those assumptions.
Got it.
It's about taking small, calculated risks to see what actually happens when you loosen your grip on that fear.
That sounds incredibly empowering.
It is.
Like you're finally taking control of those patterns that have been maybe unconsciously running the show.
Exactly.
So what happens next?
And that leads us to the next stage of the journey.
Okay. I'm hooked. What happens once we've uncovered those big assumptions?
Right.
And we're ready to make some serious changes?
That's where the individual development plan or IDP comes into play.
So let's break that down.
Okay.
What does that look like in practice?
So first you define your leadership development goals.
Okay.
But we're not talking vague aspirations here. These need to be specific and measurable.
Right.
So instead of just saying, I want to be a better communicator, you'd say, by the end of next quarter, I will conduct weekly one-on-ones with each member of my team to improve communication and feedback.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're making it real and actionable.
Right, exactly.
So you've got your goals. What's next?
Then you identify the observable behavior shifts that you need to make. So what specific actions will move you towards those goals?
Okay.
So instead of saying, I want to be more collaborative, you'd say, I will actively seek input from my team before making major decisions.
Got it. So it's like creating a roadmap for becoming the leader that you want to be.
Exactly.
But we talked about those big assumptions, those limiting beliefs.
Right.
How does the IDP address those?
That's where the mindset shifts come in.
Okay.
It's about consciously reframing those beliefs that might be holding you back. So remember that example. If I don't control everything, it will fail.
Yeah.
In your IDP, you might work on shifting that to empowering my team builds their confidence and leads to better outcomes.
So you're not just changing your actions.
Right.
You're changing the way you think.
Yes.
But how do you know if these changes are actually working?
That's why KPIs and metrics are crucial.
Okay.
You've got to track your progress.
Got it.
Maybe you measure things like team engagement scores, the number of decisions made collaboratively, or even just feedback from your team on your communication style.
Yeah.
It's about holding yourself accountable to those goals you set.
So it's like checking in with yourself to make sure that you're actually like moving in the right direction.
Exactly.
What's the final piece of the IDP puzzle?
The action plans.
Okay.
These are the nitty-gritty details of how you'll make it all happen.
Gotcha.
Break down those big goals into smaller, achievable steps. Maybe you block off time for those weekly one-on-ones.
Okay.
Seek out a mentor who excels at delegation.
Right.
Or commit to practicing a new communication technique each week.
Yeah.
It's about turning those intentions into concrete actions.
So this IDP really does sound like a blueprint for transformation.
It is.
But does it actually work in the real world?
It absolutely does.
Okay.
And the article provides a fantastic case study to prove it.
All right, I'm listening.
There's this senior leader at a global tech company facing some pretty common challenges. Right. They wanted to empower their team more, but struggled with letting go of control.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
They also knew they needed to handle conflict better, but tended to avoid those difficult conversations.
Definitely sounds familiar.
So they went through the Hogan and the LCP assessments.
Okay, and what did those reveal about this leader?
Well, the Hogan highlighted some real strengths, like ambition and inquisitiveness, but their derailers, like skepticism and that tendency to over-control were getting in the way of their goals.
Those derailers.
Yeah.
We all have them.
Yeah.
And what insights did the LCP provide?
The LCP showed a need to focus more on relating and collaborating with the team.
Okay.
And less on, well, being a control freak.
Less control.
Yeah. They also needed to get more comfortable addressing conflict head-on.
Yeah.
Instead of sweeping things under the rug.
Makes sense.
Oh,
so how did their IDP address those specific challenges?
Well, they set some really powerful goals.
Yeah. Okay.
Like delegating authority on significant projects and truly fostering team autonomy.
Got it.
And their mindset shift focused on moving from, if I don't control it, things will go wrong, to trusting my team builds their confidence and gets better results.
I love that shift.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of that fear and embracing a more empowering approach.
Exactly.
What about their approach to conflict?
Their IDP focused on approaching conflict with curiosity instead of defensiveness.
Interesting.
They started using structured feedback models to address issues constructively. And worked on shifting their mindset from conflict damages relationships to resolving conflict strengthens relationships and builds trust.
So it sounds like they really embraced those mindset shifts.
They did.
Did all this hard work pay off?
It absolutely did.
Okay, great. I was going to ask, did they actually see positive changes?
Yes, they did.
Awesome.
Over time, their delegation led to higher team engagement and faster decision-making.
Wow.
They even received positive feedback from their team.
That's great.
On how they handled those once-dreaded conflict conversations.
That's fantastic. It shows that with the right tools and a genuine commitment to growth, real transformation is possible.
And what's really inspiring is that their transformation had a ripple effect on their entire team.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just about their individual growth.
Yeah.
It created a more positive and productive environment for everyone.
That's what I find so powerful about this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Self-awareness isn't just about becoming a better leader.
Right.
It's about building stronger, more effective teams.
Exactly.
It's about creating a positive impact that extends beyond ourselves.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
I love that.
When a leader invests in their own development, everyone benefits.
It makes you wonder, what are our own hidden competing commitments holding us back?
Yeah.
What big assumptions are we clinging to that might be sabotaging our growth as leaders?
It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
And honestly, it can be tough to answer on our own.
Right.
It takes real honesty and introspection.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little help from a coach or mentor can be invaluable in uncovering those hidden patterns.
Having that objective perspective can be so helpful.
Yeah.
You know, they can see things that we might miss even when they're staring us right in the face.
Totally.
But I think it's also important to remember that this is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
Self-awareness and leadership development are ongoing processes.
Absolutely. We're always evolving, and there's always more to learn.
And you know what's fascinating?
Yeah.
The more self-aware we become, the more effective we are as leaders, which in turn creates a more positive and productive environment for everyone around us. Yeah.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to embark on their own journey of self-discovery, where do they even begin?
That's a great point.
You know, it can feel overwhelming with so many tools and frameworks out there.
It can definitely feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
The key is to start small.
Okay.
Pick one thing that resonates with you. Maybe it's taking one of the assessments we talked about, or working through the immunity to change framework on a specific goal you have.
Yeah, that sounds much more manageable. What about you?
Okay.
Is there a particular tool or concept that you found especially helpful in your own leadership journey?
For me, the biggest game changer was understanding my own reactive tendencies through the LCP.
Okay.
It helped me see how those defensive behaviors were showing up in my interactions with others. And more importantly, it gave me the awareness I needed to start shifting those patterns.
Can you give us an example of how that played out for you? Sure. I used to have a strong protecting tendency, which meant I often avoided conflict and struggled to give direct feedback. I was so worried about hurting people's feelings or damaging relationships that I ended up letting things slide that really needed to be addressed.
I can see how that could be problematic, especially in a leadership role.
It definitely was. It created resentment and frustration within my team and ultimately held everyone back.
So how did you turn things around? How did you shift that pattern?
Well, it started with acknowledging the problem. Then I worked with a coach to develop strategies for addressing conflict in a more constructive way.
Okay.
I learned to separate the person from the problem.
Right.
And to focus on giving feedback that was specific, actionable, and focused on improvement.
Yeah.
It's a gradual process, but over time, I saw a huge shift in my team's dynamics.
That's an inspiring example. It demonstrates that with self-awareness and the right tools, we can overcome even our most deeply ingrained habits.
Exactly. And the benefits are so worth it.
They are.
Not just for ourselves, but for our teams and the organizations we lead.
Right. You know, as we're talking about this, I'm realizing that self-awareness isn't just about becoming a better leader.
Right.
It's about becoming a better human being.
I completely agree.
You know, it's about understanding ourselves at a deeper level and using that knowledge to create more fulfilling and meaningful lives.
Yeah.
Both personally and professionally.
It's like we've come full circle back to that ancient Greek wisdom, know thyself.
Yes.
It's a lifelong pursuit,
Yeah.
a journey of continuous self-discovery.
And it's a journey worth taking for all of us.
It is.
So for our listeners feeling inspired to embark on their own path of self-discovery, what's one small step they can take today to get started?
That's a great question. There are so many possibilities.
Right.
But if I had to choose just one, I'd say start by asking yourself a simple question.
All right, what is it?
What's one thing I can do today to be a little more self-aware?
I love that. It's a powerful invitation to start paying attention to our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors.
And to notice how those things impact the people around us.
Yes.
It's about cultivating a sense of curiosity and a willingness to learn and grow.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
It had.
I feel like I've learned so much.
That's you. It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you.
And with you, our amazing listeners.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery.
Thank you.
We hope you found it as valuable as we have.
And remember, the journey to know thyself is a lifelong adventure.
Yes, it is.
Embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and never stop learning.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a fascinating topic.
Sounds great.
Until then, keep seeking knowledge, keep growing, and keep leading with intention.